Everybody knows we need border security. We need a wall. I think it's a very bad subject for the Democrats.
We have 654 miles of fencing already out of 1,994 miles of the border.
There is no emergency at the border. It's a mythology of the president. The wall is not effective.
We're trying to promote the Green New Deal.
I've been doing this for 30 years. I know what I'm doing.
Embattled music star R. Kelly is expected in court today after turning himself into police overnight. He's behind bars in Chicago on 10 counts of criminal sexual abuse charges. The owner of the New England Patriots is charged with soliciting sex. Bob Kraft allegedly videotaped paying prostitutes in Florida.
Dow's 9-week winning streak is the longest in nearly 24 years.
Bernie Sanders raising nearly $6 million in the first day of his presidential campaign.
Bernie Sanders will not win the Democrat nomination. The problem for Bernie is that he's a victim of his own success. Bernie Sanders has so successfully radicalized the Democrat Party.
A Texas deputy's sweet game of tag with kids caught on camera. He may have lost, but he won them over.
Hold on, I gotta freeze you. Unfreeze you though, right? Unfreeze.
News who would walk 500 miles for their fellow broadcaster and team member. It's Griff Jenkins, the most kind and generous individual here. We told you at the top, somebody stole Katie Pavlich's hard-boiled eggs. At 7, we discovered it was a dog. And at 8, Griff Jenkins provided Katie Pavlich with
and now we have
hard-boiled
breakfast,
eggs.
so we're very
Griff,
happy.
we are not worthy, Griff.
So nice. Thank you so much.
After my peeps, it's important. It's what you do.
Very kind. I'll write you a thank you note.
The egg caper has been solved.
We're all good.
We've solved
that. We can move on now.
Although we haven't solved the issues that we'll be talking about all week long, and that is, of course, the president declaring a national emergency,
Yes, right.
and the Democrats saying, well, we're going to vote a resolution against that.
Well, Democrats from the beginning have opposed the president on this. He knew that it was coming. Nancy Pelosi, a newly minted House Speaker, she had something to say about it.
On Monday, we will send to the Rules Committee the resolution of disapproval of the president's actions. We say that not in a partisan way. We not say it in any political way. We say it in a patriotic way.
And notice there, she's in Laredo, Texas,
right.
On the U.S.-Mexico border, one of the areas where they're seeing very, very heavy numbers, particularly of family units coming across the border there. And so she's saying she's going to vote against this declaration to try and do the president trying to do something about the border on the border.
And also one of the areas close to where the president is going to be building that 55 miles of new border barrier that was in the funding legislation that he signed, in addition to signing this national emergency,
and again,
declaring the national emergency.
If you look at that statement, 2 key things to take out from Nancy Pelosi's statement. We say that not in a partisan or in a political way, but if you look at the vote to bring up the vote on Tuesday, it's partisan and political.
Well, Donald Trump, the president, is saying he's going to veto it.
Will I veto it? 100%. 100%. And I don't think it survives a veto. We have too many smart people that want border security, so I can't imagine it could survive a veto, but I will veto it, yes.
Now, the president has on his side, or for justification, the actual numbers near where Nancy Pelosi is standing. You've got 478% increase in the El Paso sector of total apprehensions of illegal crossings compared to last year, and you've got a 364% increase in the family units I was just talking about, even closer to where she was standing in Laredo in the Del Rio sector where we were in Eagle Pass, Texas. If you look at the troops that have been sent, the president is deploying more troops. Now, there's 5,000 troops already at the border. Next week, he will send another 1,000 to start going down there, hoping to have a total of 6,000 by March 1. And, I've spent a lot of time on the border. Obviously, I was there this week, and I have yet to meet an official that works on the border that doesn't want that support because of the heavy flow and the resources already limited they have.
Right.
And it comes down to that Bill Parcells line. If you want me to make the meal, you have to let me buy the groceries. This is what the Border Patrol agents and the individuals that you are on the ground with want. It doesn't make any sense why there are so many people running counter to what they want when so many of these individuals just 10, 15 years ago wanted the same.
The other factor of this is the caravans that we continually seeing coming up through Central America, through Mexico. The troops are there to try and act as a deterrent for that, even though they're not doing any kind of arrest or detainment of illegal immigrants or people claiming asylum. But also, the administration has been focused on fighting the cartels, fighting the drugs. And let me tell you, the cartels do not like it that there are U.S. troops on the border serving as a bolster to Border Patrol, because they then can be in more areas on the border to make sure that those drugs aren't coming across.
Of course, and you hear about whether the drugs are coming through the ports of entry or softer spots in between the ports of entry. But the fact is, all the officials say that the wall is a deterrent to slow down whether it's humans or narcotics. And it is amazing to me to continue to hear Democrat 2020 hopefuls say that they're in favor of tearing down existing wall. But we have yet another one. This is Congressman Julian Castro that says it makes sense to him. Listen.
We have 654 miles of fencing already out of 1,994 miles of the border. And so would it surprise me if there are places where it makes sense to take some of that down? No.
No. It wouldn't surprise me if we take some of it down.
You talk to the officials, it's the same message that they are offering every lawmaker, be it Republican, Democrat, or independent, and that is we need three things. We need manpower, we need technology, and we need infrastructure. Infrastructure is a wall. That combination is what allows them to do their job. In this case, taking down existing wall, let alone not giving additional, is one that is not met with welcome ears by Border Patrol officials.
Yeah, and Julian Castro is not the only one who has said that. Kirsten Gillibrand also said she'd be open to talking about taking down some of those barriers. Beto O'Rourke also saying tear them all down. They don't serve any purposes. As we've seen, the facts show the opposite when it comes to where these barriers have been implemented, whether it's California, Arizona, New Mexico, or Texas.
And to your point, that shows this generalized move to the left. Well, speaking of which, this is an interesting poll that just came out, and I think a lot of people, based upon what we talk about all the time, would expect the opposite. But listen to this. This new poll finds conservatives actually gaining on liberals, and by that, what we mean is the number of states where liberals outnumber conservatives has dropped. It used to be 9, now it's just 6 states. Let's put up the map so you can see the states we're talking about where still liberals outnumber conservatives. Those states include Massachusetts, Hawaii, Vermont, Washington State, New York, and New Hampshire. But what's curious about this, guys,
there it is.
Look at liberal bastions that are no longer or not on this list. California, my state of Connecticut, New Jersey. What does this tell you guys?
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the numbers, the gap has actually closed. Gallup says the gap used to be 21 points. That has fallen to just a 9-point lead.
Okay.
Nationally, conservatives outnumber the left by 9% on a national level. But you see that these things changing with political migration. You know, Californians moving to places like Arizona, Colorado, even Texas. But also in the Northeast, a lot of people deciding to move down south to Florida, which has become more of a purple state and obviously is always a big player in general elections. So there is political migration, but as we've seen, a lot of these programs that have been implemented through Obamacare, et cetera, have turned the country a little bit more to the left.
What those numbers tell me, again, this is just strictly based upon my experience in my state. Connecticut is a mostly Democrat state. Most of my friends in Connecticut are Democrat. They are not this far left liberal. They watch us and they believe a lot of President Trump's policies. They believe in a lot of what he's doing. Nevertheless, they have a tendency to be Democrat. And I think those numbers are showing up there. Again, that's not a map of Democrat versus Republican states. It's liberal versus conservative.
Right.
Look at the big picture map here, and that is from an ideological standpoint, right? State by state. Red, obviously, is conservative. Blue is liberal. The light red is more conservative than average. Gray, by the way, is sort of that middle ground, and you can sort of figure it out from where you may fall on the spectrum. But, you know, as we look at the big picture map, it'll be interesting to find out as we get into yet another presidential political season, whether or not you're looking at heavily red states driven by issues on where people stand in the ideological spectrum when it comes to issues like immigration and capitalism versus socialism.
Well, Bill Maher, who is firmly planted in the dark blue state of California, had something to say about red states versus blue ones.
The blue parts of America are having a big prosperity party, while that big sea of red feels like their invitation got lost in the mail. The flyover states have become the passed-over states. That's why red state voters are so pissed off. They don't hate us. They want to be us. They want to go to the party.
But isn't that exactly what President Trump was successful at doing,
100%.
is going into those Passover places that have been left behind, that have been detrimented, or not detrimented, but have been devastated by policies from Washington, D.C. about coal plants and environmental policies that have eliminated entire industries. He went in there and did what Hillary Clinton didn't do and said, we actually care about you and we want to make sure that your industries are back, because they haven't been gone as a result of your actions. They were forced out of your communities as a result of big government coming from Washington.
Well, I think Bill Maher is actually on to something there, and that is there is a message being sent, but it's not that these states are upset that they didn't get an invite to the party. It's that they're finally winning the argument, the battle, after having an elitist group, a smaller group of people, tell them how to live their lives and what to do with
Well, and you look at California, right? Well, the rest of the country is paying for pet projects in California, like $1 billion worth of train that went defunct. And that is federal taxpayer money coming from other places that are going to the dark blue states that want to do all these pet new projects. And so it's not that they're not getting an invitation to the party. Their money is being used in these places and wasted a lot of the time.
Let us know what you think. Friends at FoxNews.com. We talk to people in diners, and the folks that I see in the red states, they seem pretty happy.
They seem like they got a good life going on, and good pancakes too. Turning now to your headlines. Embattled music star R. Kelly is expected in court today on sexual abuse charges. His mugshot released this morning after the singer turned himself into police overnight in Chicago. The criminal accusations against Kelly go back more than 2 decades. The indictment coming just weeks after a Lifetime docuseries detailing several allegations against him. Kelly has denied the claims. President Trump's administration wants to ban tax-funded family planning clinics from promoting and performing abortions. The move would potentially block centers like Planned Parenthood from receiving millions of dollars in federal funding. It would also bar abortion providers and family planning clinics from sharing the same location. The policy is expected to be challenged in the courts. And an Army sergeant is reunited with a loving dog he met on the streets of Iraq. Look.
Oh, hi. You're home. You're home.
Sergeant Kevin Solares bonded with the pup named Josie during his 3rd tour overseas. Josie now lives with him and his family in Austin, Texas. And those are your headlines. International pup.
It's great. It's great. When I was in Iraq, there was a dog named Bullet that the Marine Reserve Unit brought back. It's a very special connection you make in some of the harshest places.
Awesome
really
stuff.
Sweet.
All right, from Super Bowl champ to legal hot water, the owner of the New England Patriots caught in a prostitution sting. The discipline he may face coming up.
Plus, Alabama girl turned ISIS bride wants to be brought back to the U.S. But our next guest says the only trip she should get is one to Gitmo.
And
So what's happening next? Here to react, former staff director for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Lester Munson. Lester, thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
So the main issue here seems to be the controversy over whether she is a citizen. Her attorneys who are working on behalf of CARE argue that she is. What's your take?
Well, it appears that it's possible even the Obama administration didn't think she's a citizen. It does seem to be, based on published reports, that there's a lot of doubt about the status of her father when she was born. The basis of her citizenship claim is that her father was in the United States. He may have had diplomatic immunity at that time, which means that her birth does not confer U.S. citizenship. So it's very complicated. There's a lot of doubt about whether she's a U.S. citizen, and I think the fact that the administration is taking a tough stand means they have pretty good reason to believe she is not, in fact, a U.S. citizen.
Well, Lester, there's little doubt about over what she was saying when she was an ISIS bride, calling for Americans to take up in the bloodshed. Here is what Hoda had to say on ABC about the punishment she believes would be appropriate. Listen.
Do you think you deserve a punishment for what you did?
Maybe therapy lessons, maybe a process that will ensure us that we'll never do this again. Jail time, I don't know if that has an effect on people. I need help mentally as well. I don't have the ideology anymore, but I'm just traumatized from my experience.
Lester, your reaction?
Well, she spent a lot of time in Syria, according to these reports, several years. That's a long time. The longer, and generally speaking, studies have shown the longer people spend with these terrorist jihadist groups, the more likely they are to be totally dedicated to the theology or the ideology involved. So I think we need to take everything she says with a grain of salt. This is a dangerous person. The issue of returning foreign fighters from ISIS is something that affects the United States and all other Western countries. This is a very serious issue. She is potentially a threat to the United States, and so her views of how she should be punished, I think, should not be taken very seriously. The U.S. needs to take this as a real threat and a real possible threat.
Well, when she arrived in Syria, she had a bonfire party and also encouraged other Americans to burn their passports. Now she wants to use one to get back to the United States. But I want to bring up this lawsuit that was filed by her father on her behalf. And in it, they say that the United States has an obligation to take her back and to use her to teach other people how not to be extremists. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't think that's true. Your heart bleeds for a father who's in this situation, I think, and I as a father myself, I would do anything to defend my children, so I don't judge him. We should be judging her. She's an adult. She's made decisions about her life. She should suffer the consequences for those decisions. I do believe in redemption, and so once she's paid her debt to society and the legal issues surrounding her possible citizenship are resolved, then we could face this question, but that's a long way away.
A long way away indeed. All right, Lester, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great Saturday.
All right, well, get this. The media actually claims President Trump didn't want police to stop an attack on Democrats.
And these are his people. All right. And he's not going to thank law enforcement because he's probably not happy about what law enforcement did. That's where we are. I mean, I call the space where we are. I mean, I'm just not going to try to dress it up and be all.
All right. The former chairman of the RNC saying that. Has their Trump derangement syndrome reached a new level?
Plus, from football star to baseball player to movie producer, Todd visits Tim. Time now for some quick headlines, and this one a sad one. An Indiana state trooper allegedly shot by his 11-year-old son is fighting for his life. Trooper Matt Mikowski shot in his home while off duty. Officials say the 19-year veteran is in semi-stable condition after surgery. His son has been detained on a preliminary attempted murder charge. In this, two more MS-13 gang members are charged in the deadly New York subway shooting. The suspects now facing murder and kidnapping charges for the execution-style killing of a suspected rival gang member. Ramiro Gutierrez, accused of pulling the trigger, was arrested and charged shortly after the shooting. Todd?
So that feeling you feel in the air, maybe not necessarily in the Northeast, but in Florida, it is spring training time. Was down there this week. It is hot. It is awesome. Summer right around the corner. And we had an opportunity to meet a pretty cool guy. I know he's been on the show numerous times. Yeah. What do you guys think of Tebow?
Tebow's, I just love his attitude. He's always trying to be inspirational to other people, to help other people, and just his story about going from football to baseball and always trying to encourage people to just do their own thing, push away the naysayers, and just be the best that you can.
And he's such a unique guy. I mean, as someone who's followed his football career and now his baseball career, everyone wants to know whether he's going to start for the Mets.
Well, you guys have set it up perfectly. I want to answer those questions. Here's what we found out. Take a look. Spring training is here. How does it feel to be back with the boys?
It feels really good. Every team has the hope that this is their year, or their minor leaguer is going to come up and help their team. It's only been a couple of days so far, but it's so much fun. I mean, look at this weather. We're playing a great game. I mean, it's awesome.
Was there something part of your game right now that you're saying, hey, this is going to be top shelf in 2019?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're striving for, but I think it's just in every area to get just a little bit better. That 1% in every area, and when you look back, if you do that, then you've made up a lot of ground.
While your colleagues here at spring training camp were practicing during the fall, you have another job. I was college football analyst.
Yeah.
Put down the slogans because they don't work, all right? You know what works? It's called heart.
So you had a unique training regimen when you were on the road.
I train everywhere I went and bring coaches with me. But that's part of my life. I travel and speak and share and go on a lot of mission trips, so you find a way to train in those situations.
You've been unabashed in bringing your faith to your game, be it football, be it baseball, be it life. How do you reconcile that with the world around us that right now is somewhat anti-religion?
I don't know if I try to bring it with me. I think it's just who I am. I'm a Jesus follower and I love him. Hopefully that's something that people can respect, because you believe in something that much, it's going to come out in your actions, and hopefully that's something people can see.
You decided that college football analyst, baseball player wasn't enough. You decided to branch into other things. The movie is a combining of faith and sports. Tell us about it.
Well, it's called Run the Race.
I can do this. I've got nothing to lose and a scholarship to gain. And you're going to come with me wherever I go.
This is a story about two brothers that their mom passes away and their dad's an alcoholic. And it's a story about redemption. Most importantly, it's a story about how God loves every single one of us, whether we feel like it or not, whether we're in the highs or we're in the lows. I think there's a lot of storylines in this that hopefully will hit home for a lot of people.
You made news recently with something you said at a press conference.
Because you're always going to have critics and naysayers and people that are going to tell you that you won't, that you can't, that you shouldn't. Most of those people are the people that didn't, that wouldn't, that couldn't.
Why do you think there's been this groundswell of support for your words?
Hopefully it resonates with people. Why am I going to let someone else define me? Why am I going to let something that may or may not happen define me? Even if you don't get back to the big leagues, to the show, it's still worth it for me for so many reasons. One, because I get to do what I love. Two, because I don't have to live with regret. Three, because I tried it, and regardless of what happens, I gave it my all. It's not just about if you make it or if you don't. That's not proving people wrong. Proving people wrong is that I get to go enjoy it every day, and I get to enjoy the journey, not just if I make it here or not.
You are clearly the most famous Florida Gator. Number 2 on that list is Steve Spurrier, asking you to play in the Alliance of American Football, want you to be his quarterback. Is there any chance you're giving up all this for the old ball coach?
No. I love Coach Spurrier. I think he's a great coach. I think it's a really good league. I think you're going to get a handful of players most every year to go from that league to the NFL. It's going to make that league more successful, just like the minors are for baseball. And I think the league's going to be successful, but I'm all in baseball right now, and I'm a Met. Let's go Mets.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And in response to the inevitable question, yes, he is that nice a guy. And that message is so important because in this Twitter age, everybody has an opinion. They're also brave behind their keyboards. Tebow's out there doing it. He's making it happen. He's living a dream, no matter what the end result is.
So, you know, he said in the package talking to you, he said, you know, even if you don't make it back to the big show, but is it your sense that he feels like we're going to see him in the big show again?
You know, he didn't lead on. The prognosticators all say expect to see him in September when the rosters expand to 40. But we got a long way to go until September. Today, the first spring training game, Mets versus Braves in Port St. Lucie. Tebow's going to be there making magic.
Wow.
And his movie opened this weekend. We're going to keep you posted on
living
how well
the moment and enjoying all of it, which is good.
Great
a good
job.
lesson
Great
for everybody.
package.
All right, conservatives under attack, but it's not the first time. A closer look at the disturbing trend that is happening too often on college campuses.
And ready for the best news
Yes.
of the day?
Look at those buckets.
I'm going to let it hang out there. You can see it.
Let it hang.
Bacon is the cheapest it has been in nearly 10 years. We'll show you all the ways you can make that bacon. Here's Todd. Tebow move eating that bacon. That's next.
All right, David Webb is here. Do you want some Fruit Loop donuts too?
No, I'm taking the whole box.
You got the whole box. The box is for
They
everybody.
taste like Fruit Loops. I mean, you guys win. Well done,
We're not
Carl
supposed
Jr.
to eat on camera, but okay.
I've got to tell you, too, Carl's Jr.,
It's a
a
taste
West
of every
Coast
flavor.
establishment we're talking about as a surfer. He spends time in California. I love Carl's Jr.
What do you get?
I get a cheeseburger.
I get the one with the onion ring and the barbecue sauce and the bacon.
Oh,
Spectacular.
so
And now I'm going to get the donuts.
There you go.
Clearly, a good mashup.
It's a good sugar morning.
Well, now we have our sugar high. Let's get to some of the news of the day with David Webb. Welcome again to the couch. Look, our friend Adam Schiff on the House Intelligence Committee is telling Republicans that they need to kind of come clean about what they're saying. Listen to this and we'll get your reaction.
People will stop me in the corridor, Republicans, and say, keep doing what you're doing.
Really?
Even senior Republicans, which of course would be heresy for them to say publicly, I don't need private confidences, misgivings anymore. We need public statements. We need people to take a stand. We need people to vote their conscience.
Imagine if our production staff run the Mueller probe. It would have been done after 10 minutes. They just cleared out our table like that.
But I kept mine.
Yeah,
I'm not giving up mine.
Do you actually believe Adam Schiff when he says
No.
Republicans are stopping me in the dark corners and halls of Congress to tell me that I'm doing the right thing?
No. Show me the videotape. Kind of like Jussie Smollett. Where's the videotape? Adam Schiff is the leader of the resistance for his part. I'm not going to believe him, and it serves the Democrats to separate the Republicans by planting a narrative. And one thing the Democrats and the party's good at, false narratives. So if you show me the videotape, I'll believe you.
All right. Well, we'll have to see if there's any videotape in the halls of Congress of that.
Yeah, I do. I got to get to this. Now, for a guy in radio, and I remember back in the 90s when I was doing radio, reparations was the thing that we heard about, and then that idea went away. We haven't heard that in a long time. Now, all of a sudden, with this 2020 field growing, we're hearing for the first time about calls bringing back the idea of reparations. This is a montage I want to play for you of three of those wannabe presidential candidates, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Julian Castro. Listen.
History of racism. We need to confront it head on.
We have a history of racism in America. People aren't starting out on the same base in terms of their ability to succeed. And so we have got to recognize that and give people a lift up.
This country would be better off if we did find a way to do that because of the injustice. What that would look like, I can't say that I have that all figured out, but I do believe that the country would be better off.
Now, David, I know you're a white guy with white privilege.
Hey, I'm owning my white privilege for now.
About reparations for African Americans.
I have to pay. First of all, while I was back in college, because Kamala and I are the same age, and I was smoking pot, listening to Tupac. I'm sorry, I was in grammar school then. No, first of all, that's offensive to anyone. I also am Jamaican, and you have no idea how PO'd I am at that. This is pure pandering. Think about some of the states like the Carolinas and others where the black vote matters. It did for Obama, especially in the primaries. They're pandering to something that will never happen. Blacks, you're being lied to if you believe that at any moment, any one of them will deliver reparations to you. It's not going to happen.
Does reparations actually
nothing.
Move the country forward, or does that actually just fuel division in the country?
File it under, it means nothing. It absolutely means nothing. We as a country have moved forward. We have overturned the blight of racism. We have dealt with so many issues in this country, and they want to drag us back because what does it solve, to your question? It solves nothing.
Is it laying a trap then for supporters of Trump that would say if you're not for it, then perhaps you're racist?
Under President Trump, the best form of reparation has been laid out. The best way out of poverty is a job. When you look at the employment rate in this country, when you look at teenage employment, very important to starter jobs, black women, black males, college graduates, people of all ethnicities, because I don't like separating them, but let's deal with the identity politics. When you look at those numbers, the available jobs and the term in job, the time spent in the job, the ability to be in a job longer, that is the best form of reparation to move forward.
Okay, but forget Trump supporters. Let's just go to white people in general. If I, as a white person, say, that's not a great idea, don't I run the risk of being labeled racist? And that includes white people who are running in the 2020 Democratic primary.
Well, if you don't have what it takes to stand up and say, I am not, that simple phrase when someone calls you a racist, then don't run for the presidency. If someone calls you, whoever you are in life, if somebody calls you something and you're not, stand up for it. Stop giving in to other people's descriptions of who you are. These politicians are risk-averse cowards who pander to anyone they want. It's part of politics. That's how it works. And unfortunately, too many, some of them on the Republican side just as well do that.
Well, you can catch David and more of his thoughts on Fox Nation's Reality Check. We appreciate you spending your morning with us. Thank you.
Anytime. And I got my Fruit Loops.
Got your donuts. Got your breakfast.
Carl's Jr., baby.
Good.
Thanks, David.
All right, turning on to your headlines. The CEO of Time's Up is stepping down following sexual misconduct allegations against her son. Lisa Borders resigning from her post at the Gender Equality Initiative just 24 hours after the accusations surfaced. Borders expressing deep regret, writing in a statement she's leaving to address family concerns. And Senator Bernie Sanders feeling the heat over these controversial comments.
Is Nicolas Maduro a dictator, Senator, for you?
I think clearly he has been very, very abusive. That is a decision of the Venezuelan people.
The 2020 presidential candidate angering the left for refusing to condemn disputed Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Florida Democrats saying, quote, they are dumbfounded by his comments. Netflix subscribers are shockingly letting their shared accounts last longer than their relationships. 13% of adults use an ex's account, according to a new study by a media company, Extremist. It also shows that 17% use a current boyfriend or girlfriend's account without paying. The survey polled nearly 900 people who don't live with the subscriber. And a Texas deputy's sweet game of tag with kids caught on camera. He may have lost, but he won them over.
This? Oh, I gotta freeze you. Unfreeze you though, right? Unfreeze. He's pretty light on his feet for an old guy. Watch out.
The Texas deputy testing his skills when he saw the children waving at him after a traffic stop. And those are your headlines. That's always fun.
I still can't get over the Netflix thing.
I mean, yeah, right? I guess it's harder to break up with it. Can you please stop using my account? We're just not doing that anymore.
Is that a part of modern dating these days, that you got to, like, not only break up, but you've got to make sure that they don't?
You're looking at the wrong people.
You just have to change your password. That's the easy out.
All right. It's hot in here. Let's just call it what it is. I am literally sweating through my suit, but I don't want to be the guy who complains about weather. So we're going to let Rick Reichmuth just tell you what the weather is.
Just come on outside for about 20 seconds.
Okay. Understood.
And you'll be over it. So much going on in the weather world this week. Flooding and incredible snow. Take a look at the map, show you what's going on. Big story down across parts of the South. If you're across parts of Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, you know what I'm talking about. You've had nothing but rain for the better part of a week and really big flooding along with that. That flooding is going to continue. You see where that red is, that's flash flooding that is going on right now. That's also the exact same spot that later on today we have the threat for some very potentially large tornadoes. So if you might normally know your roads out to get to a safer structure, do that earlier in the day today, because a lot of the roads are flooded and there's going to be big problems. Where you see those hatch marks, that's where we have that threat for the larger, longer-lived tornadoes, likely starting around 4 to 5 o'clock tonight, so watch for that. Also, that's one story, that flooding, but take a look at this. So much going on the map. We have blizzard warnings in effect across parts of Colorado all the way up through Minnesota. It's the same storm that brought all of that snow across parts of Arizona yesterday and the day before. Here's your temps today. Very warm down across parts of the southeast still. All right, guys, back to you inside.
Switch. I'll do weather outside so I can cool down, and then you can come in here and talk about this. All right, Rick, thank you. A 10-year-old girl died just one day after being diagnosed with the strep throat and the flu. Just a horrible story. Should we be worried, though, about the flu? The doctor's in. Coming up.
Plus, the stock market just had its longest winning streak in nearly 24 years. Fox Business Network Susan Lee is here to tell us what it means for your wallet.
Good morning.
Hi. Time now for some quick headlines. A teen goes to jail after calling 911 on himself. Police say the 18-year-old demanded his own arrest for getting drunk at his home in Arkansas. Officers admitting it was a very strange arrest. They let him sober up behind bars before releasing him. He's charged with public intoxication. And this crook trading rare coins for a fraction of their worth. 40-year-old Shane Anthony Mel stealing at least $33,000 worth of commemorative coins from a friend. He later told Palm Beach police he sold some coins for a few $1,000, then dropped the rest into a Coinstar. He's now facing a grand theft charge. Wow. Katie?
The stock market making another historic gain, with the Dow notching its 9th straight winning week, the longest in 24 years.
Here with more on what it means for you and your wallet is Susan Lee of Fox Business Network. Susan, thanks for being here. I thought we were in a recession in 2019.
Yeah, I've heard the R word. So my message this morning is it's okay to open your 401ks once again, because in December there were so many jitters. People were concerned about the retirement savings, but we're up 9 straight weeks. Best start to the year in 24 years, longest winning streak, and best start to the year for the broader markets in 30 years. So you made basically most of the losses back in 1 month. Isn't that great?
Yeah, that's great. And then we also have a lot of job openings as well. It seems like there's more jobs, 6 million openings.
Right.
What's that mean for the stock market, but also the employment market?
Well, it also means it's a great economy at this point. We had the Federal Reserve, the central bank, basically saying that this week. And there's a lot going right now for America. So we have a great jobs market, best in 50 years. In fact, there's a 1 million job gap, meaning the amount of people looking for work versus the jobs available. They can't even find the extra million to fill them, believe it or not.
Would you say that going forward over the course of the next 10 months, whether this market is up or whether it's down, is all going to come down to China?
I would say there's a lot of factors. I wouldn't say China is the main one. Actually, I think the Federal Reserve basically saying we're not going to raise interest rates. The China trade, everyone's expecting something to be done by March 1st. And companies are making more money than expected. Those are the three factors rallying markets so far.
Susan, you mentioned jobs, and so immediately my brain drifted to some billboards that have been going up.
They're big.
And that is jobs that targeted Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Let me show you. Here's the first one. Hey, OC, saw your whack tweet. So the billboard says 25,000 lost New York City jobs, $4 billion in lost wages, $12 billion in lost economic activity for New York. Thanks for nothing, AOC.
And she responded, she did not like that, and she said, few things effectively communicate the power we've built in fighting dark money and anti-worker policies like billionaire-funded groups blowing tons of cash on whack billboards. This one is funded by the Mercers. P.S. The fact that it's in Times Square tells you this isn't for and by New Yorkers. So after that, they put up another billboard because they said that we saw your tweet. Right. So what is this back and forth here?
It's a back and forth. Yeah, $4,000 a week. They say it's well worth it because you cost us $4 billion in lost wages. And there's a great op-ed piece in the Washington Post by Mark Thiessen, who's a contributor here at Fox. He says that AOC's economic illiteracy, not only bad when it comes to jobs, but bad for the country as well. Because she doesn't understand that you didn't save New York City $3 billion. You cost the city $27 billion when it comes to tax revenue. And by the way, there's a $2.5 billion shortfall in the state. What about 40,000 jobs? I mean, those folks in the local economy, people who are building restaurants, as you mentioned, Griff, expecting Amazon to come here. What are they going to do now? It's lost investments, people who can't find jobs, and it's very sad.
What's so fascinating about this Amazon situation made New York Governor Andrew Cuomo basically a Republican for the last 3 weeks. And it made de Blasio a Republican for about a week until he sort of backtracked and said, oh, now it's Amazon's fault. They didn't want to talk to us.
It took their ball away. Didn't want to play, right? Even though he negotiated the deal, de Blasio. But you're right. Now it's the Governor Cuomo now blasting the progressives, saying, what are you doing? I could actually negotiate better with Republicans, and I thought I could negotiate with Democrats, but apparently I can't.
Sign of the times.
Interesting dots connect there. The economy is doing better than ever, and some candidates are anti-pro-business.
That's exactly. We don't need that right now.
Well, Susan Lee from the Fox Business Network. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, this fourth-grade girl died just one day after being diagnosed with strep throat and the flu. Dr. Nicole Saphier is here with the symptoms to look for in your kids. Up next.
Plus, a football legend turned baseball star. I got the chance to visit one-on-one with the one and only Tim Tebow at Mets Spring Training. His inspirational
Wednesday, just one day after being diagnosed with both strep throat and the flu. So should we still be worried about the flu season? Here now is Fox News medical contributor Dr. Nicole Saphier. Wow, sad, terrible story. We're still in the throes of it. How worried should we be? What happened here?
Well, Griff, great seeing you this morning. Thanks for having me. It's flu season, and flu season comes once a year. And even though people are saying this is a more mild season, that's all relative because it just means that maybe it's less than it was last year. It doesn't mean that it's a great season. So as you mentioned, this young child recently died from the flu, but we have now 41 children who have died just this season alone from the flu. And what we're seeing, we're switching now from the strain H1N1 and we're going to H3N2, which tends to be more severe, and that's where we see more deaths associated. So right now, it's not too late to prevent the flu. When you have a child, anyone over 6 months of age should still be getting the flu shot. Adults too. And especially, you're not necessarily doing it to keep yourself safe. You're doing it to keep those around you safe.
Gonna get the shot or the flu mist for kids right in your noses. Let me show you quickly. You mentioned the stats. If you look at the flu season 2018 to 2019, as you mentioned, 41 child deaths linked to flu, 6 to 7 million people sick. In that map, we had 30 states have reported high flu activities. I didn't get a flu shot. Should I run out and get one?
Yes, absolutely. It is not too late. By getting your flu shot, you are protecting those around you. Listen, most people recover from the flu. Children, adults, you get the flu, you have a pretty bad illness, 3 to 5 days, and most people recover. But there are cases where it gets more severe and it can result in death. You had over 80,000 people die from the flu last year alone, about 185 children. Okay, so this is serious.
Yep.
So when all of a sudden you see, when you see a child or someone who has the flu, it is a good idea to go to the doctor because we have antiviral medications that can lessen the severity.
And just because parents will be watching this very worried if they have a sick child right now, in the sad case of Sable Gibson, she got the flu strep, she woke up, had cardiac arrest and died. What should parents be doing right now if they have a sick child at home?
Listen, if you have a sick child at home, if they're children, they should see the doctor. You want a doctor to evaluate them. But for anybody being sick, if they're all of a sudden not having fluids, they're so irritable that you just can't calm them. If they start turning a different color or they're not acting normal, go see the doctor because they can turn into something severe. A heart attack, cardiac arrest is a very rare complication, but it's not unheard of. And as we've seen, people are dying.
Dr. Saphier, thanks for coming in.
Thank you
I
for
will
having
go
me.
and get my flu shot.
I want to be there. I want to be there.
I'll let you give it to me, and you should go get it as well. Thank you very much for being here, Dr. Saphier. All right, the showdown over President Trump's national emergency heating up as Democrats try to block it. So will it lead to the president's first veto? An update on the battle. Plus, Tim Tebow, Geraldo Rivera, and Corey Lewandowski all joining us.